In this video, I'm going to answer one question for you. Does the 609 letter help you remove inaccurate information from your credit report? I'm going to answer that question for you coming up. All right. Now, before we get deep into does the 609 letter help you remove inaccurate information, we first must talk about what is the 609 letter. Well, 609 comes from the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The Fair Credit Reporting Act is a law that regulates credit bureaus, right? It regulates credit bureaus. And in that law, there's a section called Section 609. Now, in the 609 section, it gives us rights. It gives the consumers rights to ask the credit bureau for certain things. And there's one particular thing in this 609 section that gives us the right to ask the credit bureau for. And we can ask the credit bureau for the source of the information that they are placing on our credit report, right? Now, the information basically means accounts. So this law pretty much says that we can ask the credit bureau to provide us with the source from the account. Now, when we say the source, we mean the original contract of the account that's displaying on our credit report. Now, the account itself, it's considered the information that's in the credit report. So I hope I get this right. I don't want to confuse you here, but the account itself is the information. So that law says we have a right to ask for the source of that particular account. Now, the source would be the original contract. I'm just giving an example. It would be the original contract of the account that's on the credit report, whether the account is accurate or inaccurate, where we want the source. So if you research Section 609 in Google and you read it, it'll say the source, right? So now that we understand what is Section 609 is inside of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and we also understand what our rights are to ask the credit bureaus for, now we're going to talk about how do we use this? Like, what is this thing? How to use a 609 letter in order to remove inaccurate information on your credit report. Okay, so we went over 609 to Section 609 inside the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? The law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So now, what does a letter look like? What does a letter look like when you're sending a 609 letter? Because you hear all this stuff, 609 letter, send a 609 letter. So what does that look like? What does it look like? Like if you used to write a 609 letter, what does it look like? Because there's pros and cons to this whole theory of the 609 letter. There's pros and cons to it, and that's why I'm going to break it down for you right now. So what does it look like? So you write a letter to the credit bureau, and pretty much you say, like in the beginning of the letter, you say, hey, credit bureau, I'm exercising my rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I'm exercising my rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Section 609, the Section 609 inside the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? That's the first part. And you're asking the credit bureau to send you the source of information, the source of the information for this particular inaccurate account, right? So this is what you're writing in your letter. You're asking them to send the source of the information inside of their credit report, which will be the account. So you're saying these three accounts, which are inaccurate or accurate, and you're asking the credit bureau to send you the source of the particular account, because the account is information, right? And what you're really asking for is you're asking for the original contract. You're asking for the original contract for these particular inaccurate accounts. And then you go on to say, if you can't verify these original accounts with the source of the information, which will be the original contract, then you have to remove these accounts from my credit report because they're not verified. You see, this is what this whole 609 thing is. This is what it is. They call it a loophole, but I don't think it's really a loophole. because I don't believe it's really a loophole, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to debunk that in a few minutes. I'm going to tell you why this letter could work and why it can't work. All right. So this is how you format or formulate the letter when you're sending out a letter to the credit bureau and you're talking about the section 609. All right. So now what I want to talk to you about is some of the downfalls that a lot of people are not talking about when it comes to the 609 letter. All right, so now that we covered the letter part, right? We cover how you can write the letter to the credit bureaus, right? So now what we want to talk about is some of the downfalls that people are really not telling you about when it comes to the 609 letter. See, they just want to sell you a template, but they don't tell you the real understanding. They don't tell you the downfalls on what the law says. Now, I'm not a lawyer, don't take this as legal advice, and you can research this yourself, but I'm just kind of giving you the straight points, the downfall to sending this 609 letter to the credit bureaus. Now, in section 609, it does not obligate the credit bureaus to do an investigation on your request. Now, let's look at this. If you're sending a letter to try to remove inaccurate information, you're asking the credit bureaus to investigate your disputes, right? And you're using the 609 section to do it. But under the 609 section, there's no obligation for the credit bureaus to do an investigation. So when you send this letter, you can't tailor this letter as an investigation, because the credit bureaus have no obligation under section 609 to do an investigation, because it doesn't talk about that, right? It doesn't talk about that. There's another section, which is section 611, which we're going to talk about next, that touches on that, right? That's the first thing. They don't have any obligation under section 609 to investigate. They have an obligation to provide you with the source of information, but not to investigate. Another downfall is that the credit bureaus have no obligation to store the source of the information. Now, the source is the original contracts, proof of the debt, proof of checks that you use to pay debt. They don't have any. Section 609 does not obligate them. There's nowhere in section 609 to say you must store this, credit bureau. You must store this source of information under section 609. So there's two loopholes there. There's two downfalls to this letter that everybody is using, right? So when you are writing this letter to the credit bureaus, keep in mind that you may face this because the credit bureaus have no obligation to investigate, and they have no obligation to store the source of information, at the credit bureaus. And that source is, again, the original contract, right? The original contract, debts, proof of debts. They have no obligation under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to store this information at the credit bureaus, okay? So now we've heard everything, right? So now, Mark, what do we do? Do we use the 609? Do we build this letter? Do we do a letter and call it 609, use section 609 to try to remove inaccurate information from our credit report? Is that what you're saying? Is that what we do? What's the answer? So it's a 50-50, guys. It's a 50-50, all right? Because you have, on one end, the law says that you have a right to have that source, right? That source of information. One end says if you request for it, you ask the credit bureau to provide you with this source, they kind of have an obligation to provide you with the source. But then on the other end, the law is also saying that the credit bureau has no obligation to investigate your letter, your dispute, based off of section 609. And then also they don't have an obligation to store the source of information. So how are they going to provide you? How are they going to provide you with a source, the original contract, a proof of debt? How are they going to provide that when the law says they don't have any obligation to store it? Right? So if you send this letter to the credit bureaus, now it's a 50-50 chance that they may look at the law and says, hey, we don't have the source, so we're going to delete this, right? There's also a 50-50 chance that they will just take your letter and use it as a normal dispute process and send it to the creditors, and send it to the creditors, and the creditors will verify it or they won't verify it. So it's a 50-50 chance, right? It's a 50-50 split that you may find some success using Section 609 with inaccurate information. But I don't really think that if you try to use a strategy to tell the credit bureau, hey, you need to provide me with the proof of this original contract, right? And if you don't provide me with the proof, you need to delete it off of my credit report. The credit bureaus know this. People abuse the 609 letter. They understand it. They're smart. They're not dumb. So I'm not sure how effective that particular letter is. I'm not sure how effective the using Section 609, but I do know that if you really wanted to really focus hard on it, that you would have to get a lawyer to, sue the credit bureaus pretty much. And from there, in discovery, they will show you, they will try to get the original contract and everything like that from the creditor, because the credit bureaus do not store that type of information. They don't store that type of information, so they will never be able to provide you with that information. And this is what makes the 609 letter kind of difficult. So it's a 50-50 there. You do have rights, and you have rights to use that right in your letter, because it says it strict right there in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. But also remember, it's not a magical letter, it's not a magical technique, and it's not a loophole. It's a straight letter to the credit bureaus. You can try it. If it works, if it doesn't work, it's totally up to you. All right, so we heard everything about the 609, Section 609. So you say, Mark, it's a 50-50 chance, right? It's a 50-50 chance whether this letter will be successful, helping us remove inaccurate information off of our credit report, right? This is what you're saying. So what is a better way, Mark? Well, a better way is Section 611 in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which allows you to dispute anything that you feel that's inaccurate, right? So instead of using all these tactics and this stuff, just go straight for using Section 611, where if you find anything that's inaccurate on your credit report, you send a letter to the credit bureaus explaining to them why you feel a certain account is inaccurate, and you provide any supporting proof to help them with their investigation, right? That is a straightforward letter. There's no 50% chance that something will work, because you're using the law, which is 611, right? Section 611, where it allows us as consumers to dispute anything that's inaccurate on our credit report. Now, I'm glad you stayed to the end, because I have something really special for you. Listen, you have studied, you know how to improve your credit report. You've worked on your own credit. You may have worked on somebody else's credit, but I have something really special for you. If you ever thought about earning an extra stream of income, if you ever thought about taking what you know, right? Taking your skill levels, taking your studying of improving credit scores, taking all the knowledge that you know already on how to improve a credit score and rebuild credit. It is now time to earn an extra stream of income doing that. Why not earn an extra stream of income helping someone else? There's 100 million people out here with really low credit scores, and why not use that to start your own business, right? To start your own business, helping others improve their credit score, leaving your 9-to-5, traveling when you want, setting your own price, setting your own paycheck, right? Having freedom and living the life that you really want. You have the skill set already, right? Why not expand it? If you have a tax business, why not add it as an extra benefit to your tax business? If you're an agent, a real estate agent, loan officer, or if you're just working on your own credit, why not use your knowledge to help others gain freedom and earn an extra stream of income? See, I have a free training for you on how to be successful, how to start this business, and how to grow this business, how to scale this business, and how to get your first customer. It's a step-by-step training. All you have to do, I want to give it to you for absolutely free. And all you have to do is click the link anywhere below this video. Anywhere below this video, click the link, and I want to send this free training to you right away to get you started using the skill sets you already have. You've already spent a lot of time learning how to improve your credit score. Why not capitalize on that and help 100 million people out here? There's 100 million people who need your help. They need your expertise. Why not grow and build your own business and become your own entrepreneur. Just click the link below anywhere in this video, and I'm going to send you my free training on how to start this business. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a lot of value on the 609 letter. I just wanted to break it down to you, and I wanted to give you the straight points, right? Get rid of all the fluff, all the fat, and I want to give you the straight points on how the 609 letter will benefit you and help you improve your credit score. Until next time, take care.